Hey, what's going on, champs? I'm Aaron Deliosa. Welcome to an Immigrant's Life podcast, my podcast about immigrants, immigration, and everything in between. And we are back for another episode. You know what we do here on Immigrant's Life, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcast. You can also email me at animmigrant'slife@yahoo.com. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you think about the podcast, the guest, or me for that matter. I want to hear how this pandemic has been for you. Has it made you stronger or weaker? I'm sure some of you look at this pandemic as a blessing for whatever personal reason you have. You probably thought you knew ways to deal better with stress. Or, if like me, your home feels more like the office, gym, and classroom than it does a home lately. My simple trick to bring calm into my space is to light candles. But did you know traditional paraffin wax candles are toxic and harmful to your health? That's why I use Driftwood Naturals 100% soy candles. You can fully relax with therapeutic essential oil scents. Plus, you'll rest easy knowing your family and home are safe with natural, clean burning candles. Canadian made, vegan, and eco-friendly. This is a product you can feel good to have in your home. For a limited time, my Canadian listeners can take an additional 10% off. You'll pay no taxes and get free shipping on orders over $80. Use promo code AIL10 on driftwoodnaturals.ca. Hurry, offers expires April 6. Driftwood Naturals, lighting the path for incredible stories of immigrants, immigration, and everything in between. And as an addition to that, I want to thank you for supporting Driftwood Naturals Candles. It really is an amazing company. And since we're on the topic, I want to give a special shout out and thank you to Melissa and Bruno for sponsoring the podcast for the whole March. These two are the proud owners of Driftwood Naturals. They are two amazing people that deserves all the happiness and success. All right, let's talk about the episode now. As the last episode of March, I brought in a closer, a heavy hitter, and this week's guest is a funny and very interesting woman. I mean, highlight the interesting part, because she said something to her mom when she's just a little girl that if one of my kids says it, I'm sending my kid to the psych ward because it's insane. But joking aside, you gotta hear her story. So without further ado, let's get into the show. Isa, dalawa, tatlo. Today's guest is one funny chiquita. She'll kill you with her beautiful smile and then kill you with her hilarious jokes because she's a comedian. Everyone, please welcome Erika Suarez.
Woo! Hi.
Hi, Erika. How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Good. First of all, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I was very flattered.
Why?
Because, you want to have me on your podcast? Who am I?
Yeah, exactly. Who am I too?
No, I'm just always very happy when anybody contacts me and wants me to be part of anything. I'm always all yes.
That's awesome. Thank you again, like I said. So, would you like to promote anything before we start?
The only thing is my Instagram. So head over to my Instagram. My @ is La Erika Suarez. And you can find me there, follow me there, and then I don't know. Maybe one day I'll have an OnlyFans and I'll ask you to promote it.
I will promote it, but I won't be able to subscribe because my wife will kill me.
Oh, I'll give her a subscription for free.
You gotta do it, man. You gotta get that bag.
Of course. I mean, all the bars are closed, so hey.
Exactly, So, quickly, I know you had COVID. Is this true?
Yeah, I did.
And how was that? How did you deal with it?
So I got COVID in September 2020. And I got it really bad, really, really bad. But I wasn't surprised because I have a pretty bad immune system. But some of my friends got it at the same time. And we all got it real bad, I lost complete sense of taste and smell and headaches that you couldn't imagine, and like my body was aching. The only thing I didn't get was like I didn't have any hard time with the breathing.
Hmm.
Like I could breathe just fine. That's the only thing. But yeah, 14 days of pure hell for real. And then since then, I have still not recovered
Ooh,
my sense of taste and smell. So pretty
really?
awful.
Wow. Thank you for sharing, first of all.
Of course.
And I love that you say that because you know how some people, they're like, it doesn't exist. It's not true. It's not that bad.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm so open and I talk about it. It's because I know that a lot of people think it's like so a lot of people say it's just like a cold, like just normal cold, whatever. Which is not true at all. It could be true. Like I have one of my family members had it and she literally just like any flu that you get at any time in your life, just a little cough and little fever and she was fine. But for people that get it really like intense, like I have a pretty bad health in general, but my friend that got it, he's in perfect health and he got it the same way as I did. So it's not a thing about, oh, I'm weak or whatever. Um, it's very bad. And it they don't talk about and they don't talk about the effects long term, which is one thing that I really hate, is that the media, they talk about getting it and the testing and the positive and the whatever. But I feel like if they would talk more about what happens after you get it, people would be way more careful. Because now today, like I can't eat anything. Like I coffee in the morning, that's done. Like I can't have any of the foods that I liked. I'm basically on like a liquid diet
Hmm.
because it changed my sense of taste and smell. I didn't lose it. It's like everything tastes absolutely disgusting. It's awful. And so like a week ago, I went to the grocery store and just walking into the grocery store, the smell of all the food, I just barfed all over the grocery store because the smell
No.
was so foul. It was like
Oh.
standing in a dump truck. Like it's awful. But I feel like if you tell people you'll get the flu, then they'll be like, fuck off. I don't want to wear the mask. I don't want to do this, this, this. But if you tell people you're not going to be able to eat anything, then people will maybe take it more seriously. But yeah, it's pretty awful.
Oh, sorry that you're going through that.
I mean, at least I'm fine. That's how I see it. Like at least I'm okay in general. That's the only thing that I have left from it. But there's people that have been like me for over a year now,
Wow.
and the doctors don't have any cure for that.
Hmm.
So it's crazy.
Yeah. Did you go to the hospital?
I did, but once I got there, they were like, "Do you have any trouble breathing?" I was like, "No." They were like, "Go home." Like that's literally what happened, and they were like, "We can't do anything for you." And they're
Wow.
like, "We don't have a cure. We don't know. Like it's just if you're not dying, just stay at home." So
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy. So when I come across people that are like, "Oh, it's no big deal. It's nothing," and blah blah blah. I'm like, it could be no big deal because I know some people that have had it and it was no big deal. They were just a little sick and then it went away. Or you could be like me and have a very like bad version of it and just lose complete sense of taste and smell. Like 2 days ago, my boyfriend gave me some chocolate, and if you would have like covered my eyes and gave it to me, I would have guessed that it was Parmesan cheese.
Whoa.
Yeah, like it's completely fucked. Like my sense of taste and smell is just completely off, completely off. So I
So,
feel like if you tell people that, then maybe they'd be careful.
wow, that's crazy. You know what? I mean, I heard of people losing the taste, the sense of taste and smell, but I never thought it this way.
Yeah, and me neither. Like when I got COVID at the first time, like when I actually was diagnosed with it, I just lost the taste and smell. So I completely lost. So I could eat whatever, and it was when I mean like lost, it's like 100%. Like I don't eat spicy food. Like if you give me sriracha, I will go into a coma. That's how bad I am with spicy food. And my boyfriend was like, "You didn't lose your sense." I'm like, "It's completely gone." So I ate a whole box of spicy 911 wings, like it was freaking bread. And my boyfriend was like, shook. He was like, "Okay, I believe you now." So I lost it completely. So when it came back, but wrong. I thought I
Hmm.
had something else. So I called the doctor and I was like, I thought I was the only one because there's nothing in the news about this. There's nothing, you don't read about the fact that you read about the fact that you lose it. You don't read about the fact that it doesn't come back normal. So I
Hmm.
called the doctor in panic and they were like, yeah, like there's thousands and thousands of people like you that had COVID. And I was like, why don't you talk about that instead
Oh,
of
wow.
talking about the petty stuff, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Here you are thinking you're Will Smith from I Am Legend being the cure, and then,
Exactly. I'm like, girl, why does this chocolate taste like Parmesan cheese?
or maybe it is Parmesan cheese and your boyfriend was messing with you.
Could be, no, but it's really awful. I wish they would talk about that more and not talk about only the fact that, you're diagnosed and it's just the cold and whatever, because it's not just the cold, clearly.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not just in and out kind of deal.
No, it's not. It's not at all.
Hmm.
And I couldn't believe it that when I called the doctor, I thought I was going to be a revelation. I thought I found something new. I thought I was the only one, but no, they were like, girl, get in line. You're not the only one. And I was like, why haven't I heard anywhere that it can change your sense of taste and smell, not just lose it? And they were like, girl, we have other things to do. I was like, fine.
You're not Will Smith from I Am Legend. You don't have the cure.
Exactly.
You're not special.
They took me from space and put my feet right back down to hurt. I was like, girl, okay.
Bastards.
But if
Funny.
not, I'm fine. Other than that.
I'm happy that you're fine, and I hope your family they're fine too.
Yes, everybody's good. Nobody else in my like close knit family got it. So it was like distant relative that's got it. So even my boyfriend, he lived with me. I mean, we kissed and slept together and in the same bed and whatever when I had COVID, because I mean, what was he gonna do? There's nowhere else he can go. And he didn't get it.
Hmm.
And I was here dying with the fever and the sweating and the body and the no taste. And he was anticipating, he was like, I'm gonna get it for sure. But then he didn't get it. He tested negative.
Wow.
So that makes no sense. But I mean, does anything make sense with COVID? Not really.
Exactly. Unfortunately, that's the scary thing about it. It's not black and white.
It's not consistent and it's weird. So
Yeah, exactly. So let's leave COVID alone for a bit. And I want to touch on, since you said you don't like spicy food, you said
I can't. No.
it's funny because you are ethnically Cuban and Portuguese.
Right. But people assume that Cuban food is spicy, but there's no Cuban food that's spicy, actually.
Hmm.
Like there's Cuban food is not spicy. Portuguese food is spicy though.
That's it.
So I'm basically shunned from my family.
Unfortunately. So yeah, Cuban
I,
doesn't have, I mean, spicy doesn't has necessarily be hot or chili.
right. There's seasoned food,
That's
of
it.
course. Like there's a lot of seasoning and it's tasty and whatever, but it's not like Mexican food where it's very, very spicy. Like the candy spicy in Mexico. A lot of the things are spicy. Like they eat fruit with chili on it and stuff like that. Like it's spiciness is a big part of the culture there. But in Cuba, the food is not generally spicy, like spicy hot, I mean.
Just the woman.
Right.
So, can you tell the listeners who's Cuban and who's Portuguese in your family?
So my dad is Cuban. He immigrated here from Cuba. And my mom is Portuguese, same thing. She immigrated here from Portugal. And on my dad's side of the family, there's a Chinese heritage lineage. That's kind of close, actually. I think it's like my grandma that's Chinese.
Really?
So yeah.
How did you find out?
So basically, my dad knew her when he grew up,
Okay.
and two communist countries. There's a lot of so the biggest Chinatown in Latin countries is in Cuba because it's two communist countries. They exchanged slaves years and years ago. So there were a lot of Chinese people that came to build the railroads and stuff like that, and they just left them in Cuba. So there's actually a lot. There's a lot of people that are Cuban that have Chinese heritage. A lot of them don't know, but it's very common.
Really? That's wow. I never thought of that.
But me neither. When my dad told me that when I was a little older, I was like, "Bitch, I'm not Chinese." And then he was like, "Yes." And then he showed me pictures of my grandma and great grandma and everything, and it's like, yeah. So I was like, all right.
I guess so.
I guess so.
So, do you know how did your dad came here?
So my dad came here. Well, my dad went to the States illegally.
I love Scarface, like jump on the boat kind of deal.
I think so. He's not very talkative about that. I know that he played Major League Baseball and for a few teams.
Wow.
And then he came to Montreal, and he was in the Montreal Expo team, like camps and stuff for baseball. And he got his citizenship and residency here, and now he's Canadian for sure. Like he's here, and he's been here for years and years. So yeah, and my mom came here when she was 6 years old with her parents. So
And how did they meet?
I think both my parents were very outgoing, clubby bar kids, like club kids. I think they just met in the nightlife. Yeah,
for sure. Have you visited their home countries?
I have not. So both my parents never. My mom hates the plane, and my dad never wanted to really return to Cuba, which is normal, right? But when I was younger, we never traveled. So now when I was older, I have traveled, but I've never gone to Cuba or Portugal yet. But I definitely want to go.
Why do you think you've never been to Cuba or Portugal?
Well, I've never been to Portugal because it's kind of expensive to go there. And also my boyfriend is really bad with the plane. He will take the plane, but when he's on it, he's like super anxious. He doesn't like it, whatever. So he still does it. So we went to Jamaica, we went to Mexico, but Cuba is really the only reason why I didn't go there is because at the time where I was looking for trips, the first trip we did was when my grandma passed away, and she gave me I had a heritage, and it was a good amount of money. So I didn't want to I wanted to use the money to go somewhere where I would usually not have the money to go, because Cuba is kind of inexpensive, right? You can go anytime, but Jamaica is very expensive. So I decided to go there. And then the next year we had some friends that are from Mexico that were going to Mexico to see some family, and they just asked us if we wanted to go. So we went there. So we just never had the chance. I was supposed to go to Cuba in 2020, but Rona hit. So I wasn't able to go.
Oh, that's I hope someday you will go.
I hope so. Where are you from?
I'm from the Philippines.
Right. I could have told. I knew that. I just want to be polite.
It's all good. It's all good. So, how was your childhood in Montreal?
My childhood in Montreal was very different from a lot of people because I grew up downtown, like downtown Montreal.
Wow.
I lived on McGill near St. Catherine. So I lived on the McGill campus, and the building that we lived in, my mom was also like taking care of the building. So it was all students. So I grew up on the campus basically as a kid. And then I used to go to elementary school on the plateau. So it was fun, really. It was living in the heart of the city was very nice. So I feel very close to Montreal because of that. It's like downtown is like my home.
That's one thing I like about Montrealers. They love Montreal. I have never spoken to a person from Montreal that said, I don't like Montreal.
Right. It's just, I love it. And I can understand like some people that maybe lived on the far ends of Montreal, maybe like the east side of like completely east side of Montreal or completely west side. It's not the same experience. It's a little bit more suburb-y. Not that it's the suburbs, but it's not like I lived like in the middle of the city. Like I knew like the homeless people knew me, the rich people
Saying
knew
what's
me.
up to you.
This no, but it's true because I used to walk around a lot. So like everybody, and there's not really any kids there, you know. So
Mm,
there's Face, which is the elementary school and high school that's downtown, but the kids don't live around there, you know. So I was really the only kid that was walking around the neighborhood. So people knew me, right? They knew me. They knew that I was gonna pass by at that time and whatever. So it was a very fun experience, and it made me the person I am today, where I'm not very scared of the city. I know that a lot of people are scared of the city, so I live and die for Montreal, really.
that's amazing. That's beautiful, man. I love that.
Yeah.
But so you said you didn't have friends, kids to play with, but you have friends at school.
Yes, so I did have friends to play with, but so I lived on the McGill campus, and then maybe I would say um 10 blocks away east from there, you fall into the plateau where all my friends were living. So I just had to walk maybe 10 to 15 minutes, and I would be where all my friends lived on the plateau. So it was not that bad for me. It's just I was just a little further east, where I was not in the same world as they were. But all my friends lived in the plateau. So when I finished school, I had to walk through the plateau to go home. So I walk with my friends. I would be the one that lived the furthest away, but I was still around them a lot, and I was able to, since they lived near the school, I was able to go to their house and whatever, and I was still like close to home, so that was fine. I had a lot of friends, but they were all on the plateau, and I was on the McGill campus.
Were you a good kid growing up?
I was, I was a very good kid.
You never got in trouble?
Never got in trouble, never got detention, never skipped school. I was a very good kid. Well, I loved school. Even today, I still love school.
Why do you think is that? Is that because you're gonna get beat up if you don't be good in school?
But that's a big part of it, of course. You know, that flip-flop sure does find the target. But yeah, but it was kind of natural for me. And also, I was a very strong personality, even as a kid. So I feel like I was kind of the leader I was able to lead the people around me. Not that I was the coolest or I wasn't that popular, but the friends that I had around me, I was able to influence. And since I liked school and since I loved learning and I was into music also, I played instruments. So I was a busy kid. I didn't really have time for distractions. And my parents were the very cliche immigrant parents.
What do you mean by that?
But like, very protective, very, hard on the kids, and you must do good at school and you have to be an engineer and whatever. But also they were very loose on other things that other parents were not. Like my I was able to tell anything to my mom, they never really forbid me to do anything. Even in high school, like when all the kids were starting to drink and whatever and smoke weed and smoke cigarettes, whatever, my mom was always like, if you want to drink and if you want to do those things, just do it at home. Like bring your friends here, which was very not normal of a classic immigrant parent. As she's like, do well in school, but if you want some buka, do it here. Like, it's like, does it make sense? Not really, but it was a great way. I was lucky enough to have immigrant parents that had found the balance. Because a lot of parents, that's the problem. They don't find the balance. They're so far on one side where like, we came here, we made all these sacrifices. You have to do good and you have to be straight and you have to da 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 da. So I was lucky enough to have parents that were like that, but they also understood that I came from a different place that they came from, and I was going to be confronted to things that they weren't confronted.
Yeah.
I didn't go to school in Cuba where I had to walk miles and miles to go to school. So it was good for that. I think that's what made me a good kid, is I didn't feel like I had to hide anything from my parents, because I could tell them like, yeah, today I did whatever. they would beat me up, but they would be like, it's normal, you know what I mean?
That's funny. But yeah, I agree with that. There's not much restrictions on you. The same with me with my dad. He was like that when I was growing up as a teenager. He went to me and my siblings and said, "Yo, if you want to do stupid shit, go ahead, but you make sure you know yourself."
Exactly.
And thankfully, we know ourselves and we don't want to get in trouble. And again, like your mom, he was open, like, "Yo, if you want to drink, come to my house." I prefer that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how it's always been. And it's like, yeah, my parents were hard on me. They were like, you have to be at home by 8. Like if I wasn't at home by 8, I was in big trouble. But if I understood like pretty fast that if I listened and I did what they asked me to do, they were more loose on me. It's like they would let me go to parties, but I'd have to be home really early. But I could still go. And some of my friends, it was just a hard no. You don't party, don't go to parties, you don't do this, you don't do that. You can't sleep over at a friend's house. You can't eat somewhere else. You can't. This is not a hotel. You know what I mean? Like I had all of that too, but it's just since I was a good kid, it was very fair. My parents were very fair. Like if you listen to us, you do well in school, you'll be able to have privileges, and it was true. So I feel like I understood that soon enough. And that's why I was like, I don't need to rebel, or I don't need to not do well in school or not listen, because that'll just put me in a worse scenario. If I listen and I do well, then I'll be able to at least participate in some stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, since your dad's Cuban and your mom is Portuguese, has their ethnicity and their background has ever clashed parenting you?
Not really, because my mom is like a chameleon. Like she will really my mom speaks so many different languages, and she knows a lot about different cultures and stuff. So my mom speaks fluently Spanish. Like you could hear my mom speak Spanish and you'll be like, she's Cuban. But then she's Portuguese, so she speaks Portuguese perfectly. And then she speaks English, and then she speaks Creole, and she speaks so many languages. So I feel like she was able to, and she always hung out with some Latin people before meeting my dad. So she knew how it worked. And I was really brought up with the two sides and learning about the two cultures and learning the two languages. And it was very fun, very multicultural.
Wow, they're awesome parents.
Yeah. It's like they did a great job. Like no parent is perfect, of course, but I feel like they did a great job.
Wow, yeah, like you said, like, yeah, they're immigrants. They came here, but they didn't have the mentality of, oh, I am Cuban. She needs to grow up Cuban.
Exactly. Like they were like, it's very important for me to keep the heritage and to speak the language and to understand how it works, and all the customs and whatever. But also she's not growing up in Cuba, so she's not confronted to the same things that we were. So they were able to understand that, and not all the time understand it correctly or perfectly or whatever, but they were open to understand that, okay, she's not dealing with the same stuff that we dealt with when we were younger. And my mom came here when she was very young, so also she understood it pretty well.
Yeah, she went through the same thing that you went through.
Not really, because she was my grandparents on my mom's side were very hard working people, like not very school oriented, like work, work, work.
Yeah.
So she didn't really go through all the scholarity stuff. She was quickly put on like the work, work, work mentality. She was working very young and not going to school. So it's not the same, but she lived here anyways. So,
You said she spoke a lot of language. What did she do for a living?
My mom was around a lot of people, so that's how she learned. She learned all those languages being just around people. She's very good with that. Even today, like my mom is just easy for her to learn languages. I don't know why, and she brought that to me also. I speak French, English, Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, And I can understand some other. I used to go to Chinese school when I was younger because of my dad, but I forgot all of that.
Wow, that's nuts, man.
Yeah, so I was going to regular school from Monday to Friday, and then Portuguese school on the weekends, Chinese school at nights,
Oh my God.
and I had music. So I was a busy kid.
Yeah. Did you like it though?
I loved it. And at the time, maybe I didn't love it that much because you don't
Mm.
know how much is gonna come from that. But today, I'm so happy that they did that, and I would do the same with my child if I ever had one, because I anywhere I go for a job, I'm like, I speak French, English, Portuguese, Spanish, and Italian, and they're like, you hired. Like it's just so easy to get around, and it's a lot of opportunities come from speaking so many languages.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go back a little bit with your friends. Your friends, were they mixed ethnicity or certain backgrounds?
Oh yeah, it was definitely mixed. Like you're in the heart of Montreal, so it was definitely mixed. Spanish people, Asians, Arabic people, like from everywhere. I had friends from everywhere from day one, like from the get go, from um, the youngest age.
Mm. So after high school, did you go to college?
I did go to college. I went to college for thanatology, like you know what that is.
Nope.
So mortician, embalming.
No way.
Yeah. So I did that. I went to school for that, and I wasn't able to finish, unfortunately, because of health reasons.
Hmm.
But then when I was getting back on my feet, I wanted to finish my degree. But then I got the opportunity to work in a funeral home right away. So I decided to go for that. So I worked in the funeral business for about 5 years.
Did you want it to be
Yes, I wanted to be a mortician since I could talk.
why?
I don't know. Like when I was younger, my mom told me this because I, of course, don't remember. I was like about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. And I was telling my mom, can you please bring me where the nice people are? I want to see the nice people. And mom was like, the nice people? What are you talking about? And I used to ask and ask and ask, can you bring me to the place where there's the nice people? I want to see the people. They're so nice to me, whatever. And one day we drove by a cemetery and I said, look, mom, the nice people. Yeah. And since I was young, I always asked my mom to bring me to funerals, even like strangers. Like we would drive past a funeral home and I want to go there. I want to go there.
Holy shit.
Yeah, since forever. And when I was, I think, maybe 12 years old, one of my uncle died in Toronto, and we drove all the way down there for the funeral. And no kids were allowed to, so no kids from Montreal. I have a huge family, and no cousins, no kids were able to go. And I flipped. I told my mom, if you don't bring me to this funeral, I will be so mad. And I was the only child that was allowed to go. We went up to Toronto, and that was the first time I saw a dead body alive. And
Mm.
the first thing I did was touch it right away. I was 12 years old.
What is
I wanted
wrong
to
with
touch
you?
it, and I wanted to fix the hair, and I wanted to. And my mom has always told me since the youngest age, I've always wanted to be that.
Have you ever spent time and think of why?
Well, I've always been attracted to it, but I wouldn't know how to explain why a child would want to do that. It's very weird.
Oh yeah.
Like if my kid would say that, my kid would be uh on fire. Like
It's
burn
so
the whole kid and
weird.
the whole house down. My child is telling me they wants to see the good people, and he points to a cemetery. Girl, you are homeless, not me. Hell no.
Oh my, I'll bring you to the fucking voodoo woman because you.
Exactly, girl. You need to exit. Like what? What type of voodoo type shit is this kid telling me? No, but no, it's just I don't know. I just don't know. So I've pursued that. I from day one, but then I wasn't able to finish my degree, but then I went to work in the funeral home, and I loved it so much, like so much. But I had to leave that field, unfortunately. But it's always in the back of my mind to go back.
Hmm. Do you mind me asking what happened health wise why you didn't finish?
So I had breast cancer,
Oh my.
and I had to go through all the treatments and the surgery and all of that. So I had to stop. Well, I was still going to college, but I missed too much of the classes. So they made me, so I wasn't able to take the final test, but I was a very good student. I could have passed the test, I'm sure, to this day,
To this day.
say that if they would have let me pass the test, I would have passed it. But then, so then me, like, it was like like skipping school. I was very, like, it crushed me. Like the A1 student that always has good grades,
Mm,
skipping school, like, it was very hard on me.
mm,
So when I got better, I had surgery to remove the cancer and whatever. When I was better, I was like at a crossroad where I met someone that his dad worked in a funeral home. And since I had already the background of the degree, I was almost finished with my degree. He was like, well, we could use you here at the funeral home to work, even if you don't have the degree. You can't do everything because of course you're not certified, but there's a lot that you could do to help around.
mm.
So I was like, it's either I go back to college, and it's very hard to find a job, very hard. Like when you finish college in thanatology, it's almost impossible to get a job right out of school.
Mm.
So
Why?
I was like, this is a big opportunity for me to be offered a job if I don't have my degree. So I decided to go for the job instead of finishing the degree.
Yeah. That's first of all, I'm sorry that you had to go through breast cancer and are you okay now? 0%?
No, I'm not at 0%. It's still I still have lumps and stuff, but it's stabilized. It's fine. It's nothing to worry about today.
Yeah. Good, good. Good to hear that. So first of all, I want to comment about the stupid school. You not like come on man, like it's not like she was fooling around. She had breast cancer. That's like LeBron James blowing his ACL.
Yeah, and I tried to, so there's with the school board, you can challenge and whatever. And someone there was like, well, it's a medical reason. So technically you should be able
Yeah.
to do it. But then I went through that and the board and whatever. And then finally, it was like the decision of the teacher to make, or
Mhm.
he had to say if he thought that I would be able to pass it or not.
Mhm.
And he said no. I don't know why.
What a pff, that pisses me off, man. Shit like
Yeah.
that. Like it's not like you're an idiot student. You know what I mean?
Right. But, I tried to look at the good side of it and think like maybe if I would have finished my degree, I never would have found the job that I had. Because like I
Mm.
said, it's almost impossible to find a job in that field because I mean, there's not that many funeral homes in Montreal. So with all the people that get their degree, it's almost impossible to get a job right away. So I think I think it was better experience for me to just go straight for the job because after when I worked there, although I loved it, it doesn't pay really well.
Mm.
Like it pays well, it pays decent amount of money, but once you're there, that's it. Like there's there's not really room for like you can't be manager of the morgue. Like you know what I mean? It's just you go in, you do your job, and then you go out, and that's not really my type of lifestyle.
Hmm.
So I guess it was like a blessing and a curse that they wouldn't let me finish it because I don't think I would be still there today. So I would have just wasted my time finishing the degree
Yeah, for
and not
sure.
work there. So I guess it was a blessing in disguise.
Hmm. Can we talk about this embalming situation?
Yeah.
So when the body comes in, right? What's the first thing that the embalmer or mortician do?
So it depends a lot on the way the person died, of
Mm.
course. So it's not everybody that has to be treated the same way. If it's like a very violent death or someone is decapitated or something like that, it doesn't go just to a regular embalmer. It goes to someone that like specialized in like reconstruction of the face, reconstruction of the body, stuff like that. Depends also, is the person going to be like in an open casket, closed casket? Are they going to be cremated? Like it depends on that. But just like a general thing is just like you clean them, you remove liquids, you put another liquid in that preserve the body, and then just try to make them look nice, makeup and stuff like that. That's just like a very overlooked way to explain how the process goes. Or if they're cremated, then we just
Toasted.
cremate them. Yeah, I just yeah.
Sorry. But so what do you do with the organs?
They stay in your body unless you wanted to donate them, which is not what we do. We don't take the organs. Like, we don't do anything medical. So if you signed your card to donate your organs, then it's not a mortician. That our job is to make you look pretty for your funeral. Like, we don't do anything medical. Like, it's usually done depending. So I don't know if it's like that. If it's the same for every funeral home. I know that every funeral home is different, but the funeral home that I worked in, and because I've worked in all funeral homes in Montreal, like all the big ones. But since I didn't have my degree, I wasn't able to do first-hand embalming because it's not legal, right? I was able to help around, and the major thing with my job was like the family would come in, I would fix the room and fix the flowers and bring the body in. We'd be with the families, and sometimes if they needed, I would go down to the lab and help with the embalming if there were a lot of deaths, like in the winter, a lot of homeless people die. So then there's a big boom of deaths there.
What do you guys do when there's a homeless person died?
So when a homeless person dies and there's no family that are able to be found, so when you die, everybody gets $2,500 from the government.
What do you mean? Who gets the money?
So the money is, if you have family, it goes to the family. But if everybody is entitled to that money. So if, let's say, a homeless person dies, then the money is given to the funeral home to arrange a funeral. Now, what they do is they either cremate. Usually it's cremated, and they put you. It's just in every cemetery there's a part of the cemetery where there's no grave, and it's unmarked grave, and lots of people are buried there. Unmarked, like
They
it's
just
sad.
sprinkled it there.
Like it's very sad. Like you take the urn and you just they put it. Of course they don't just open it and be like, "Oh, you're free." Like, no, but they'll dig and they'll put their urn or the casket in. But it's an unmarked grave. Like thousands of there's a lot of people buried there, but it's just unmarked. So if you go to a cemetery and you see a big part of land where there's nothing, maybe you'll think that it's empty, but it's actually full of people. It's just an unmarked grave.
You're playing around and shit, and there's like people there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's nuts.
That's sad when that happens, though.
Yeah.
Like homeless people and they have no family. It's just we cremate them and just put them in an unmarked grave. That's it.
Did it take a toll on your soul doing that?
Not at all. So there are people that will say that yes, like, but for me it was just natural. Like I said, I've been wanting to do that since I was a child. I was always comfortable with that. Like, so it was never hard. So okay, so small childs, that's hard when they because it's not only old people that you have to arrange for a funeral. It's babies, childs, kids, teenagers, young people. So I would say young child, not babies, but like I would say like age 2 to like 14. That's never normal. It's always eerie when you do that. But outside of that, it never had a toll on me, really. Never. I enjoyed working there because it's just a natural process. You know, some people are like, "Oh my God, you're so cruel." I'm like, "You're gonna die. Like, someone has to take care of you." You know, so I loved it. Sometimes I wish I had finished my degree and I was really able to work full time in the lab.
Mm,
But also now today, I'm like, maybe I never would have jumped the gun and became a comedian if I had my degree. You know.
mhm. All right. Since you jump on there, I'd love to talk about Let's Leave the Dead Alone, even though I have more questions about that. So, you decided to be a comedian. When did that happen?
So a little bit just like the death thing. I've always wanted to be on stage. It was as a kid, my mom had this old camera. I would put it up and I would be like, I would dance in front of the camera and stuff. You know, in school, I was always in talent shows for dancing, for music. I played the saxophone for now 15 years. I've always wanted to be on stage and I've always been told by my friends, "Oh my God, you're so funny. Oh my God, I was always the goofy one." And I have never been shy, even as a child. You know, sometimes kids, you're like, dance, dance. And the child is like, oh, and I was like, bust a move and let's go. You know, even as a young kid, I was never shy. So since I was maybe 16 years old, I told myself that I would want to be a stand-up comedian, but I never thought I'd do it.
Mm,
It's that type of thing where it's like, okay, I'm funny with my friends, but am I going to be funny on stage? Probably not. And
mhm.
also, you're a woman, you're ethnic, like people are like, no, you're never going to make it, you know? So 2 years ago, someone said, you should really try. Like you should try because you're hilarious, you're funny, and you're a feel good person in general. Like people always tell me that if I speak or if I tell a story, like people are drawn to listen to what I say. And they were like, you should go on stage and try, at least try. And someone hooked me up and said, you should go see Alban Preach. I don't know if you know them. They're a Montreal based comedian and they're also on YouTube.
Mm.
And I went to one of their open mics. I went up to preach and I said, hi, my name is Erika. Someone said that I should come see you if I wanted to be a comedian. And he said, right on. And he gave me 5 minute set the week after that. And I did my first set. It was awful, but I got a few laughs.
Mm,
And it's the first time I got on stage, I was not nervous.
mm,
Like lots of people are like, my first time I was very nervous. I was shaking, whatever. I was like, even if I the worst, I would like it's so natural for me to be on stage, but then making people laugh is not natural. Like it's very hard.
mm.
So I think I got a few laughs here and there, but the first laugh I got set me off. It was like drugs. Like that's what it's like. Like the first laugh, that feeling of I was at home, I sat down with a piece of paper and I thought, what would people find funny? And
Mm.
then you write and you write and you're like, oh, I think it's funny. Will they think it's funny? And da da da. And then you see all these people come in and it's like people coming from work, people maybe had a bad day, people are there to have to laugh, you know, and
Mm.
then you go on stage and you say something that you invented and you make people laugh. It's just like a drug, you know, it's like right away felt good to me. And since that day, I never stopped.
Wow, that's amazing. But I understand. I mean, I'm not a comedian. I've never been on stage. I don't think I'll be ever be on stage.
Why not?
I'm not like you.
You're not one of my breed.
I mean, to be honest, when I was a bit younger, I thought of it. I
Yeah,
actually wrote jokes for a comedian.
right. But that's a
But
big part of it too, eh? You
yeah,
could be
I
a
know.
writer.
But just the getting on the stage, I still write. But I just going back to what you're saying, it's a drug. I mean, it's not the same, but I guess it's kind of the same. I remember when I was in high school and I make jokes and all the people laugh.
Yeah.
Man.
It's
You-
it just feels so good. And also, it's like when you have a group of friends and then you say a joke, but no one hears it. And then someone else says the joke louder and people laugh. It feels so wrong. Like, you're like, this bitch did not just steal my joke.
Ah.
And like, it's the same feeling. Like laughter is something else. Like there's nothing like laughter. So it's something that if you cry, you can laugh. If you're sad, you can laugh. Whatever situation you can be in, something can make you laugh. And to be that person that's able to make people laugh is just amazing. It's such a good feeling. You have to love it to do it because it's torture. It's not easy. And sometimes you're gonna bomb and you're gonna be awful. And there are nights where you're gonna go on stage and none of your jokes work. And then you get off stage and you're like, I'm a shit comedian. I'm not funny. But the nights where it's good, it's really good.
And that's what keep you going?
Yes, it's like being a comedian is the most confusing, weird thing in the world. Like some days you're like, I'm on top of the world. I'm that bitch, period. No one talk to me. And then on the next day, you're like, I am the shittiest person in the world. I am trash. Like, it's just that feeling. And it's so serious backstage. People don't get how serious comedy is. And sometimes that's hard. And also it's brutal because let's say any form of art that you do, let's say you're a singer, you're a musician, painter, dancer, whatever you do when you're on stage or when you're performing, you always have something else with you. If you're a singer, doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter if you have charisma or not. If you have an amazing voice, then that's what people are going to remember. You know, of course, all the rest can help. But truth is, if you have the best voice in the world, then you're fine. If you're a musician, you go on stage, you have your guitar, you have your instrument. You're not alone. You have something else to carry you through your time. But as a comedian, it's you and the mic, and that's it. Like I get an immediate response to what I'm doing. If I say something and it's not funny, you're not gonna laugh. I have to keep going. Like it's brutal. It's the most brutal form of performance, I feel, in my opinion. But it's also the most rewarding. You can't really compare it to anything else.
Yeah. Also, I heard this before from comedians because I'm a bit of a comedy nerd, that comedy is the only form of art that you have a hit, let's say, right? Your joke hit, that you can, once you release it, once you record it, you can never use it again, kind of deal.
Exactly. Like if I'm a musician and I get on stage and I play my music and people love it and they're like, more, 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 you can go right back and play the same song you just played because they loved it. But me as a comedian, if I say a joke and people love it and they're like, more, 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 I can't say the same joke. They're going to be like, girl, you just said that. Like, it's, once you said it, it's said and done.
Yeah.
Like, you have to come up with something else. And that's crazy.
Yeah. Again, I admire comedians for that. Like, you guys are brave.
We are self-sabotaging assholes. That's what we are. Like,
we need you guys, though. So, how is your writing process? Do you sit down and write, or do you write on stage?
I do a little bit of both. So every comedian is different. Like you can speak to one comedian and they'll have a totally different answer than someone else. So what I do is I find the premise to my joke, I write it down, and then from there, I will try to build around it. So I feel like there's a joke everywhere. So I try and think of an idea that's not necessarily funny. If it's funny already, perfect. But if it's not, like I was on a podcast today, right? That's my premise. And then I think, okay, where can I go with that? That's funny. When I say I was on a podcast today, what are people expecting? What are people expecting to be funny? What are people thinking about? Oh, she was on a podcast today and she said something stupid. She was on a podcast today and it went bad. She was on a podcast today and she farted. Like it's you think about all of those. Some of them are good, some of them are awful, and then you build like that. And when I feel like a little bit of a body of a joke, I bring it on stage. And then when I'm there, I try to see the reaction. So if I say I was on a podcast today and people don't laugh, I know that the joke is not there. And then if I say like, and it went pretty bad, people chuckle. All right, I have something. That's how I build my jokes. I go on stage and I try different things. Sometimes I have an idea for a joke and it's from beginning to end. And when that happens, hey, I crack open a bottle of whiskey and I'm happy.
Hallelujah. The ether decided to give me something.
I mean, it was on Jesus Christ. Like, but most of the time you have to build the joke, and sometimes you write a whole thing, and then when you get on stage, you get halfway and boom, you have an idea. And you go with that, and that works. It's just finding the joke in a premise is our work, right? Sometimes it comes up on stage, but I can't just be uninspired and sit down in front of a piece of paper. The comedian that you see with the piece of paper and the pens and the highlighters and the ruler and the that's the comedian that won't make it. Like, but the comedian that's half drunk at the bar with a piece of paper that's torn up and says that they don't know what they're going to say on stage, that's the one.
Because they speak from the heart.
Exactly.
That's right. And so I did some digging about you, and I saw a video of you that you made. And it's really funny. It's on YouTube. It's on your channel.
Which one?
You told a story. I hope you tell this on stage because it's super funny.
The pansexual one?
That and what happened to that. Dude, I was laughing hard. I'm like, yo, you need to make more, dude.
Yeah, so I definitely do that story on stage. It's a very good and true story, that thing. And I've always wanted to be online, whether it's YouTube or TikTok or whatever platform I would use. But as confident I am on stage, like you could right now put me on stage in front of 10,000 people and I'll be able to perform. Not well, but I'd be able to perform. Like I wouldn't have stage fright. I wouldn't have cold feet of going in front of people, however many people you would give me. But online, I have this disconnect. Like I love doing it. Don't get me wrong. Like I love being online and having an online presence, and tons of people have told me, you have to make a YouTube channel. You have to make a whatever. But I don't know. It's the one thing that I'm a little unconfident about. Like I have doubts. I don't know why.
Why?
I don't know.
You were awesome, dude. Those 2 videos that you did, the first 2, I'm like, dude, This is awesome. This is so good. Well written. I love the characters. I love the premise of it. Everything about it.
Yeah, and like you're not the first person to tell me that, and I'm always like, I don't know. It's like I've been thinking about starting my own podcast and stuff like that, but I always have that hesitation that I don't have on stage. I don't know why.
I mean,
I don't know why.
Podcasts, you can, like right now, we're doing it. You say something, I'll react.
I know, but I don't, like I say, I wish I knew why, but I don't really know. But I mean, like right now, I feel a big pressure to go online because bars and clubs are not opening anytime soon. So right now, if you're not online, you're kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you are perfect for online. First of all, you're super funny, smart, and it doesn't help you're pretty too.
I mean,
triple threat,
I mean, I'm not a humble hoe. I'll say it. I know that I'm easy on the eyes, but when I go on stage, it's not something I rely on. So when I perform live, when you perform live, you could be as good looking as you want, but if you're not funny,
Of course.
you ain't getting it, sis. You are not getting it. Like, people are not gonna laugh because you're funny. That's just a fact. So, but online, people will click your video or will click whatever because they like the way you look, which is, I feel like, could be one of the reasons why I'm so unsure about online, because I'm not used to putting myself, like my body, you know what I mean? Not my like body, yada, yada, yada. No, but I mean my, like my physical self is usually not that much part of my act. It's like, so yes, I move and I move around and I whatever. But I mean, if I don't look the best on stage, but I'm super funny, it doesn't matter. But online, it kind of does. So sometimes I'm like, oh, do I, like when I do a video or whatever, I'm like, is this okay? Is the lighting okay? Is the sound okay? I feel like I'm really hard on the quality of what I put out versus an open mic where there's 5 people and 3 out of them are comedians. Doesn't matter really, But I definitely am like right there going back online. I really want to do it. I don't know
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm not
You're
doing it.
so funny. You're so smart. There's no reason why. I mean, yeah, I get it. You want that energy on stage. You cannot replicate that,
Yeah.
but you gotta do it. I think. I mean, you're perfect for that.
We gotta do it, because at this point that, like, I have some comedian friends that did not go online at all, and I have some comedian friends that went all out with the online stuff, and it works. Like, it works 100%. People are at home, they have nothing to do, they're on their phones, so they need just the distraction, So it's really working. The people that my colleagues in the comedy world that are online have gained thousands of followers, and they get praise and people love them, and they're people that I work with on stage, so they're not all that different from me. But definitely, well, right now I'm working on a few projects that are going to come in the next few months. So follow me on Instagram to see all the new stuff that I'm going to come out with. But yeah, right now I'm definitely working on the online stuff. It's just I have to come prepared, because that's just part of my personality. I have to be prepared.
That's good. I want to touch base about what you said about the people clicks on your video because of your looks. That's one reason I don't use the video, because
Well,
I want to focus on the art other
right,
than the looks, if that makes
right.
sense.
I agree. I understand what you mean, but the one place, like the one thing where I don't agree with is podcasting. So I'm someone, I love podcasts, but I have a really hard time listening to podcasts where there's no visual to follow. Like, I have a hard time. So I know people are like, I listen to podcasts in the car. I'm like, I will crash my car so fast if I listen to people talk while driving. So I don't know. I feel like if I were to do a podcast, it would have to be filmed, but not because it's me or because I rely on looks or whatever. It's just that I know that a lot of people are like me, and like listening to podcasts without the visual is hard. I was surprised when you told me that you didn't have any visual.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm just lazy.
Right.
It's hard to edit video.
Right.
Also, some guest doesn't want to be on video.
Right. That's true.
So I don't want to put out 3 episodes with video and then 2 episodes no video.
Yeah, but also, like, that's just me. Like, there's tons and tons of people that listen to podcasts without watching them. So I don't feel it's necessary. I don't feel like it is. I think it works really well. And if your podcast is interesting and the people you have on are interesting and you carry it well and it's well constructed and structured, like, I was able to listen to your podcast easy. Like,
thank you.
I liked it. I listened to it and I was fine. It's just that I feel like I'm so, like, I don't watch TV. I don't watch series. I don't watch movies. I can't just sit there. And so I listen to your podcast like while working. and that was easy for me to listen to because I was doing something else with my body. Like, I don't know, but I really liked how I feel like if your podcast is well constructed and the topics are interesting, the guests are interesting, then it's fine. You don't need to have the visual.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening. I mean, it blows my mind when people listens.
Why?
I don't know, because I'm just a dude that nobody knows about.
You shouldn't think like that.
I know, but that's how I think, okay? But I put out good product anyway. For me, the content is good. That is no
Yeah.
doubt. I'm confident with product. When people like you say, oh, I listen to it, or isn't random people online that say, dude, I like your podcast. It's good. I'm like,
Yeah, that's very strange to me, but I mean, everybody's different on that, but I mean, if you put it out, you should be like, yes, you listen to it again. Like,
oh, I do it. I do it. I say, yeah, thank you. Don't forget to share and like and all that stuff. It's just, I don't know. It's just sometimes I'm just like,
but I get it. I know what you mean. It's always surprising. It's kind of the same like when I do a show and like my name is on the headline. Like, so sometimes if it's just an open mic or whatever, it's fine. But if it's a real show where it's like you have to pay $25, here's the comedians. When it's like, oh, it's sold out, I'm like, it's sold out. Like, how? Like, who is like, wow, people are paying money to see me and my colleagues perform. That's crazy. It's crazy to me that people would spend their hard-earned money to see a show of mine. Like, it's humbling, and it's the best motivation. So I guess I understand what you mean.
yeah, exactly. It is humbling, and hey, I'm egotistical. I love when people says that.
Of course.
You know.
Anybody that says, "Oh man, I don't mind," like, it's like, bitch, yell, why the fuck you lying? Like, no, you are lying.
Man, you're so funny. Unfortunately, we're there. Do you have any more topics or question or whatever you want to add?
No, that was super fun, and thank you for having me again. And I mean, I'd be down to do another episode anytime.
Or maybe you'll have me on your podcast.
Definitely. So yes, I'm working on stuff. I am definitely working on stuff, and this is not the last of us.
Awesome. Thank you again, Erica, for coming on. I really do appreciate it, and this is really fun.
Thank you so much.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
Bye. Thank you again, Erica, for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, listeners, for listening. This is Aaron Deliosa for An Immigrant's Life. I'll see you guys later.